continue their dream of education, or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
Is this the tackle?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers pitching staff had another bad performance last night in Miami. The Marlins pounded the Dodgers 11-9. The Dodgers bullpen gave up 7 runs. The only good news for the Dodgers last night was San Diego's loss to Houston. The Dodgers still lead San Diego by 3.5 in the NL West. The LA Sparks lost to Phoenix 85-81 in their final home game of the WNBA season. The loss assured the Sparks of having the most losses in a single season in WNBA history. The Sparks are 7-32 with 1 game remaining. 31 losses was the previous mark. The Sparks, who finished 5-15 at home, wrap up this dismal season Thursday at Minnesota. UCLA gymnast Jordan Childs has filed a request with the Supreme Court in Switzerland to overturn a ruling at the Paris Olympics that forced her to give up her bronze medal in the floor exercise to Anna Barbosa of Romania. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Tavis is under attack. I can't get his radio station on my transistor. I'm getting the Asian station that he's right around, but they're not letting KBLA 1580 come in. I'm not getting the black man. So let Tavis know he's under attack. Cyber attack, racist attack, fascist attack, but he's under attack. And they doing something to disrupt his radio station so they won't get the truth out to us.
Hey, it's Tavis. We appreciate all that love, let me tell you, because we may very well be under attack on all sides. Just because you don't believe in conspiracy theories don't mean they ain't after you. But in reality, sometimes stuff happens with the signal from the studio to the tower, which sends our programming to your car, home, office, or your transistor radio. But when you download the KBLA 1580 app, the sound is clear as a bell all day, all night, anywhere in the world, from Los Angeles to Lagos. So we love all of our listeners, no matter how you hear us. But when you download the KBLA 1580 app and hear that richness, you'll wonder why you didn't do it sooner. But don't take my word for it. Download the KBLA 1580 app right now. I'm Tavis Smiley, and I approve this message.
To the Wild Wild West, a state that's untouchable like Elliot Ness. The track hits your eardrum like a slug to your chest. Pack a vest for your Jimmy in the city of sex.
KBLA Talk 1580, broadcasting from the Sunshine State. Some California love in the building as we welcome one of our California senators into the conversation. He's got a lifetime of experience. He's bringing it to the legislature, over 2 decades. I think it's more than that, of public service as a Gardena City Council member, a state assembly member, and now as a state senator. Actually was the first African-American ever elected to the Gardena City Council and was a member of the California Reparations Task Force. Senator Steve Bradford, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate the invitation.
Yeah, a lot of folks have been looking forward to hearing from you because, as I know you're well aware, there's tons of community conversation about reparations in general, and specifically 2 bills that you brought forth in this last legislative session that were killed at the 11th hour.
Well, they were held, and unfortunately, bills that had more than enough votes to get off the assembly floor, bills that were endorsed by the entire legislative bloc caucus, which is a total of 12, including myself, bills, again, that weren't amended at all from the time they were endorsed by the caucus to the time they got to the assembly floor. And unfortunately, for reasons still to be determined, they were held and not taken up for a vote.
Okay, you make the distinction between held and killed. So what is the difference?
When you don't bring it to the floor, they're held. I mean,
so it means it can come back. It's not
that bill. No, the legislative session ended on
right. So then they would have to, right. So they would have to
reintroduce them. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Which obviously you won't be able to do because you're actually termed out and you're running for lieutenant governor at this time.
But there are individuals who are eager to, who've already stated they would reintroduce the same bills that were held. So you'll see those bills in some form sometime before the beginning of next year.
You're confident?
Without a doubt. They've all stated they would reintroduce the bills. Again, the same bills that they weren't willing to take a vote on August 31st, but they've already mentioned that they'll be willing to reintroduce both the Freedmen affair. And you need a funding source. Again, as you stated, I spent 2 years of my life on the task force. And one of the things I was adamant about, and I stressed through all those hearings, despite what reparations looks like, you have to have some form of agency, some form of department that will be responsible for distributing whatever reparations are, managing that source, and as well as having a funding source. As we've often said, if it's not in the budget, it doesn't exist. And SB 1331 was a way to fund reparations, not through state money, but through philanthropic, corporate, and federal grants. And that's what that bill would have done, to create a pathway other than depending on state money to fund the agency. And again, 1403 would have stood up the agency, the California American Freedmen's Bureau.
Now, the Freedmen's Bureau was part of the priority.
It was one of the 14. Right. It was 14 priority bills. It was about 20-something plus overall that were introduced, but of those, 14 were priorities, and 1403 was a priority bill.
Yeah, so just to be clear, because when I saw the letter from the CLBC about those two bills, they said, we will reintroduce the Bureau, and as far as the other one, see the author. So we're seeing the author. Mm-hmm. What does the author say about, because it seems to me, although I've heard lawmakers on this show committing to bringing back both of those, the statement from the CLBC seems to say, as for the other one, you're on your own.
Well, I guess, but you still need some funding source, but you're ready to fund I don't know, what do you consider Black Freedom Fund? Is that a nonprofit? I don't know exactly how they're.
It is a nonprofit.
So
I think it's a nonprofit that funds other nonprofits.
So again, instead of funding the structure to meet out and deliver on reparations, you will give money to another nonprofit. That's their decision. I don't understand the logic there, though.
Yeah, I want to get a little deeper into that. I just want to make sure I don't skip over anything, that's been repeatedly coming up, right? You said that your bills, neither one of your bills were amended. When you say that, you're talking about by other members of the caucus.
Well, by anyone can ask for amendments on a bill. A department chair coming out of appropriations. Many bills are amended by the appropriations chair. My bills were not touched.
Appropriations.
Yeah, appropriations. Yeah. My bills weren't touched.
So when we hear about these amendments later in the process, those are coming from the governor.
Not necessarily. The ones that were suggested that we refused to take. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to make sure people are clear on that.
Yeah.
So when you say they were not amended, you mean not by your colleagues
not by me. I didn't accept any amendments. Right. You can't amend the author's bill without them first agreeing to those amendments. And if you don't agree to those amendments, many times your bills are held in that committee. My bills made it out of every committee, policy committee and appropriations committee.
Right, meaning that your colleagues didn't insist on anything. Because they made it out of committee, and they supported them. They voted for
exactly.
them.
when it was in Assembly Judice, not only did Assemblymember McKenna thank me for introducing the bill, she clearly voted for it.
Yeah, I mean, though that video is going all around social media.
Oh, I didn't see the video. Okay.
Yeah, it's on Twitter. It's on Twitter. It's on Instagram. So what? I mean, this sounds dumb, and maybe it doesn't matter what happened, but the community does want to know what happened. It seems like it was smooth sailing all the way to the end. You're being commended for your work on reparations. They're voting for it. I'm told just days before that the votes are there, and then it's not brought to the floor. What do you think happened?
I can't answer that. I mean, really, I've been doing this for 26 years. I've been in the legislature for 14 years. I've never seen anything happen like this before.
You didn't have a fight with somebody? No, you didn't.
Like I say, we were smooth sailing.
Step on someone's new shoes.
I don't get down like that. I've been doing this far too long. I got friends on both sides of the aisles. I got friends in both houses. Everybody will tell you Steve Bradford's a straight broker. It deals with folks straight up. I'm not hard to reach. You don't have to go through layers and layers of staff. I spend more time walking those streets of Sacramento where people can have impromptu meetings. So if anybody had any problem, I'm the only member of that caucus and probably in the legislature who has never missed a day. I have perfect attendance as an elected official. The only time I ever missed was the last 2 weeks of session. Going into the last 2 weeks when the pro tem sent me to Chicago for the Democratic National Convention. Other than that, I've never missed a day. So I'm always
Speaking of the DNC, I mean, I was there, and I saw many members of the caucus, and everybody seemed to be united and jolly and, getting stuff done for the vice president. This couldn't have seemed further away from what one thought would happen from my observation of the DNC.
Without a doubt. Again, we weren't aware that there was any problems with that bill until Monday when the last week of session when we got some amendments from the governor's office. We quickly reviewed them when we got off the floor that evening, and my chief of staff, my legislative director, we assessed it, and we said, these don't honor what this bill is. It totally guts the bill and the intentions of the bill, and we said no to the amendments, and we didn't take them.
And so the idea that you saying no to the amendments means the governor would have vetoed those bills, and therefore they...
Not necessarily.
No, not true.
Not necessarily. I mean, the governor has stated in my 14 years many objections to bills that he had some problems with. That I did a social equity on cannabis last year, and I met with his point person, and they offered up amendments, and I said no. And bill got to the governor's desk, and he still signed it. He wrote a signing message saying, here's what I would like to see going forward, but he signed the bill.
Yeah.
So, amendments not taking doesn't necessarily guarantee a veto.
In the chat, Jerry Anderson says, what's the plan to make sure that this same thing doesn't happen in the future? I mean, I know you won't be in the caucus at that point.
I won't be in the legislature, period. So it's up to those individuals who are there and whoever succeeds me to pick up the baton and keep moving forward with it.
Would it make sense to have some kind of we've had big oil pledges and police money pledges. Would it make sense to have some kind of a reparations pledge for endorsements by community-based organizations and individuals moving forward?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, the community speaks loud and clear. So, I mean, that's what drives a lot of the actions that are taken by the legislature, hearing from their constituents, hearing from even folks who are not necessarily their constituents, but voices throughout California. So that's important.
People have been very outspoken with the members of the California Legislative Black Caucus and their displeasure with these bills not moving forward. Do you hold any responsibility for not playing nice in the sandbox or not doing whatever it is you needed to do to get those across the finish line?
I've always played nice, so I'm not going to own that one. I've been accessible. Again, I'm the most senior member there. I've gone through more kind of battles. You can ask any of the leadership, from Karen Bass as Speaker to John Perez to Tony Atkins to now Mike McGuire. They'll say Steve Bradford has been a team player since the time he got to the legislature. And you can talk to the Republican leadership. And from the Assembly to the Senate, I have friends on both sides. I'm a fair dealer. I mean, I'm a fair broker. I don't, as the old folks say, throw the rock and hide my hand. So what you see is what you get with me. And I can stand on my record, stand on my integrity. I can sleep at night because, like I say, I haven't done anything underhanded as an elected official. I'm a straight broker, and people know what you get when you deal with me.
You're easily the most senior member of the California Legislative Black Caucus. Were these rookie mistakes?
I don't know how you call them, but I mean, they just, it shouldn't happen. It happened, and you move on. You lick your wounds and you move on. I mean, but it was totally not a surprise, I would say.
Yeah. Well, when we come forward, I want to, talk about the money. Started touching on that, but that's been sort of the main topic of discussion the last couple days since that letter was released. And also what you think they ought to do. What you think they ought to do next. I know you won't be up there, but as the big brother of the Black Caucus, what would your advice be? It's KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580. Tabitha Smiley's new book, The Covenant with Black America, 20 years later, is now on sale everywhere. This classic text shot to #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list almost 2 decades ago. If you have the original book, you will surely want to get this 20th anniversary edition with powerful new contributions from today's leading voices. This 20th anniversary edition presents a compelling blend of historical insights and contemporary urgency in this critical and unprecedented election year. Get your copy of The Covenant with Black America 20 years later today.
Hey, what are you doing up on the step stool?
About to clean these light fixtures. The whole family's coming over, and if there's even a speck of dust in the house, my abuela will find it.
Here, I got a Swiffer duster to help with that.
A Swiffer what?
A Swiffer duster. It has this cool extendable handle that reaches 6 feet to get high and low, with fluffy dusters that easily trap and lock dust.
So, no more step stool?
No more step stool.
Easily trap and lock dust from hard-to-reach places with the Swiffer duster. Love it or your money back.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm-fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties. Classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Always night pads are designed for a perfect night's sleep. So you can do your bear hugging a pillow thing, your free-falling starfish thing, your burritoed in a blanket with the AC blasting thing. While Always night pads with rapid dry do there, we've got your back with fast absorbency and up to 10 hours of protection thing. So while your period's doing its own thing, Always lets you do your sleep thing. Shop for Always in-store or online, wherever you get your pads.
Watch out! You got me!
The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
I feel like I'm constantly cleaning hair off my bathroom floor. At least my Swiffer sweeper makes it easy. Sweeper heavy-duty dry cloths have ultra-thick pads to trap and lock hairs, like a hair magnet. And when I'm finished cleaning up my hair, Sweeper takes care of his too. Now the hair's gone, all thanks to Swiffer. Try Swiffer Sweeper heavy-duty dry cloths. I promise you'll love them or your money back. And also try Swiffer Sweeper Wet to make quick work of tough, sticky messes.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Wow. Talking with Senator Steve Bradford, and there's so many great questions coming up in our YouTube chat. I want to try to get to them. And I thank you for being so succinct in your answers. Sometimes you talk to electeds, you only get to ask 2 questions. You get a lot more answer than you ever asked for. Friday Jones says, have any CLBC members said they'll pick up the agency bill as originally drafted? Particularly because she says McKinnon said she voted in favor of the governor's amendments.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Well, Friday Jones is asking if any members have said they will pick up the agency bill as it was originally created, because she feels that McKinnon and others may favor the governor's amendments.
And if they take the governor's amendments, it totally waters down the bill, and it creates another study. A study that we had for 2 years through the task force, a study that has been conducted by, I think, UC Santa Barbara already. It further examines lineage and your genealogy, but we're beyond that right now. It's now time to stand up the agency and start putting the infrastructure there, so when we decide what reparations are, you have an agency to oversee that and help folks with their eligibility and all those things. But to go back to a university and study what we did for 2 years, I just think it's moving backwards.
Yeah, it feels like kicking the can down the road so you don't have to deal with it while you're in office in case you want to run for president or something. But, of course, that's speculation. The issue of the $12 million, that was set aside for reparations in a very tight budget year. I know you and others fought for that money. Mm-hmm. Now a letter has been released by one of the reporters from Cal Matters on CLBC letterheads requesting that $6 million go to the Black Freedom Fund and $6 million go to the agency. So first question is, how do you give money to an agency that hasn't been created yet? And second question is, should that $6 million be going to a nonprofit, that nonprofit or any nonprofit?
Well, you have to have infrastructure, and again, that's what I advocated for 2 years on the task force. And so the agency is part of that infrastructure. But what we also state in the legislature is, as I stated earlier, if it's not in the budget, it doesn't exist. So I think it was a major win for the legislature, the major win for the Black Caucus to get $12 million in the budget for reparations during a tough, budget year. I mean, when we're running a deficit. So it showed not only the legislature's commitment, but the governor's commitment as well to reparations. And I was a strong advocate. They says, well, $12 million will not stand up to agency. And I says, we never asked for $12 million for the agency. I said, let's start out with $2 million because you're not up and running full steam in 1 year anyway. Start standing up a new agency or the department. I don't care where it is. So I said, let's start with allocating $2 million a year for the first 3 years. And let's look at where we are 3 years down the road. If the budget, our overall finances in California has improved, then we put it part of our ongoing funding source. If not, we look for other funds 3 years down the road.
Yeah, I mean, at least you get it on its feet. That
Exactly.
is a crucial and tangible, evidence that we did something.
Yes.
That we created something, not just studies.
Yeah.
Somebody, I'm sorry, I can't see your page in the chat anymore, was saying that they don't want government money. I mean, they don't want philanthropic money. They don't want foundation money. They don't want corporate money. They want all government money. Some other folks are saying, we'll take the money anywhere we can get it. If you were able to pass that funding mechanism, it would be able to deal with all available funding, right?
Without a doubt. Why would you turn down money? If it's money that's available to help stand up reparations, you shouldn't care where it comes from.
Yeah, money from everywhere.
Yeah.
But you have to have a place to receive and process that money.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then you need an agency to
oversee
administer
it and manage it. Yeah.
Do you have any response to the op-ed that Assemblymember Tina McKinnon placed in the LA Sentinel? She doesn't name any names, but it certainly sounds like she's talking about you.
Well, it was a gut punch, and I've never been blindsided by anything like that before in my life, so I will just leave it at that.
I mean, basically, she says one legislator stood in the way of these two bills, and in the way of reparations in general. But weren't you like a mentor to her?
She worked for me. We've been friends. She, up until a few weeks ago, said we were family. I mean, and so it was surprising. It was disappointing, but you move on.
Hurtful.
Oh well, it's beyond hurtful. I mean, like I say, was a gut punch, you know. So, you pick yourself up and keep moving.
Yeah. I have said a lot that I think it's important that we claim the victories as well, because I keep hearing everyone's watching California, and if we fail, then reparations fails. Well, we do have Proposition 6 on the ballot. You did get the bill passed around eminent domain, racially motivated eminent domain, even though I know it's tied to the Freedmen's Bureau. Do you feel like we?
Not necessarily. I mean,
it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be.
Okay.
Now, if they choose to. I mean, you saw what I did 3 years ago with Bruce's Beach.
Right.
There was no agency to do that, and we returned that property. And what 1050 does is set up a similar mechanism to return property that was racially motivated by cities, counties, states using eminent domain. And if it's still under those governmental entity controls, you return it back to the original owners or compensate them for that. It didn't require an agency to do that for Bruce's Beach. So where there's a will, there's a way.
So there are some victories.
Yeah.
And all is not lost.
As I say, you just got to keep on striving. You know what I'm saying?
And if you were advising your more junior lawmakers who are still going to remain in the CLBC next session, what would you advise them?
Stay committed. Stay firm. And be true to why you're doing this. It's not about, the individual headlines and all of that. Listen to the people in the community. That's who we represent. And just understand that's who put us there, and that's who we should be listening to and advocating for.
We just got a couple of minutes before news, traffic, and sports. We'll continue on the other side. One thing I really gathered from the conversations on Freedmen Friday is that there's a fundamental split, and many of the lineage folks feel like monies for reparations should go strictly to like a Freedmen's Bureau or an agency, and that some people on the Pan-African or other groups feel like those monies should go to nonprofits. I think it would depend what nonprofits, but the way this thing is played out now with the requests coming for the Black Freedom Fund, regardless of where you stand on the Black Freedom Fund, seems to affirm what some of these lineage-based organizations have been saying all along, which is that there are lawmakers who simply want to give funds to their preferred nonprofits, as opposed to some kind of robust test about whether or not this is actually supporting real reparations.
Is that a question? Or
yeah.
I mean, I agree with some of the concerns that have been raised or questions that are being raised. I think we should set up our own house first before we start going outside. So, I mean, it's critically important that we have the infrastructure from a governmental standpoint. I mean, yes, there's a lot of nonprofits out there that are doing great work, but I just think we were a little too early to identify where these funds should go first. We should first stood up, like I say, the governmental infrastructure first, and then start looking outside for additional help and support.
So you think that $12 million would be better reserved for when and if that agency is stood up?
Well, I never said all the 12 should go to the Freedmen Fund to stand up. I was more than willing to use 6 of that 12 to help stand up the agency over a 3-year period. What they do with that other 6, I've never been a part of any discussion on how you should administer it. We were kind of like dividing it up between the 2 houses and letting them choose. So, yeah.
Okay, we're talking with Senator Steve Bradford, and you're listening to Unapologetically Reparationist, KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Harvey Weinstein is expected to be arraigned in Lower Manhattan today on new charges. The charges against the former film producer are under seal. Earlier this month, prosecutors announced they were presenting new allegations to a grand jury. Vice President Kamala Harris is spending lots of time in Philadelphia. Harris was in town yesterday for an interview with the National Association of Black Journalists. Her visit came on National Voter Registration Day and a week after her debate with former President Donald Trump. Most Americans plan to get this year's flu shot, but not the new COVID-19 booster. In a new survey from the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center, 56% said they'd get the flu shot, but only 43% said they'd get the COVID booster. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers pitching staff had another bad performance last night in Miami. The Marlins pounded the Dodgers 11-9. The Dodgers bullpen gave up 7 runs. The only good news for the Dodgers last night was San Diego's loss to Houston. The Dodgers still lead San Diego by 3.5 in the NL West. The LA Sparks lost to Phoenix 85-81 in their final home game of the WNBA season. The loss assured the Sparks of having the most losses in a single season in WNBA history. The Sparks are 7-32 with 1 game remaining. 31 losses was the previous mark. The Sparks, who finished 5-15 at home, wrap up this dismal season Thursday at Minnesota. UCLA gymnast Jordan Childs has filed a request with the Supreme Court in Switzerland to overturn a ruling at the Paris Olympics that forced her to give up her bronze medal in the floor exercise to Anna Barbosa of Romania. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
October 2nd is California Clean Air Day. Go Metro for free and help cut down on pollution and traffic. It's our way of thanking you because every ride makes a difference. Let's clear the air together. Ready to go right now? Head to metro.net.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone, and should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks Vapors in an easy-to-apply stick. And it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And when you need more comfort for yourself, try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks Vapors. Use as directed. Vapo Stick for use ages 4 and up. Vapo Shower Max used for adults only.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer whenever I want?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. 94% of Sleep Number smart sleepers report better sleep. J.D. Power ranks Sleep Number #1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in-store. And now, during our biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number Limited Edition smart bed. Limited time. For J.D. Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio. KBLA Talk 1580.
And we are talking reparations. We're talking California. State Senator Steve Bradford is with us. You are termed out, meaning you couldn't go back into the legislature, state legislature, even if you felt like it, and you are running for lieutenant governor.
That's correct. We're still in until December 1.
Yeah, not out of there yet.
We're not dead man walking yet.
Yeah. Well, there's a question in the chat about who put the bills 1331 and 1403 on inactive status, and of course there was a whole controversy about whether or not Bill Asaili or Bilal Asaili would actually trying to put those bills up for a vote or not.
He was. I mean, Bill Asaley is a super right-wing Republican who, in every committee that I had a bill on reparations, he vocally voted no, very strong no. And so I was surprised the last night of session, I'm on the Senate floor, and one of my colleagues says, Assemblyman Asaley wants to speak to you. And I said, what? And he says, he's in the back of the chamber. So I walk over to where he was. We've never had a conversation other than hi and bye, and you know, walk through the hallways and things of that nature. And he says, hey, I'm willing to take up your reparations bills, but I won't vote for them. And I quickly said, thanks, but no thanks. I says, I'm not in the theatrics. I says, either you're going to bring the bill up and vote for it, or I don't need you to bring it up at all. And I quickly walked away and said, don't need your help with that. And a couple hours later, we hear he's up to his annex and trying to get a motion to bring it up. You know,
doing theater, basically.
Yeah, it was theatrics, without a doubt. And I said, we didn't need that. That's not what it was about, and didn't want it. I've never done that, and no. Now, did I have folks who were in discussion of taking the bills up if they thought it wasn't going to be a whole lot of drama, that they were supporting it? Yes, those conversations did happen in the last 24 hours, but just based on all the noise that was made, they chose not to get into that fight.
Friday, I want you to explain how it came to be that member Aguiar Curry placed 1403 in the inactive file. What are the rules? There was some discussion that they may have broken the rules.
Well, truly, you can't put a member's bill on inactive file unless they agree to it, and I didn't agree to put my bill on inactive file. So someone, in leadership chose to move it to that direction, so that's what happened.
Someone's asking, Raphael Plunkett wants to know how we can support your bid for lieutenant governor.
The best way, money. Money is the mother's milk of politics. We have to raise a lot of money. California is not a cheap date, so that's the...
You have a website, I'm sure.
Yes, we do. Steve Bradford for California. Steve
Bradford for California. Is it the number 4?
No.
FOR.
Yeah.
Steve Bradford for California.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the bills, died, and one of the conversations that I had on this show with Senator Lola Smallwood Cuevas, she did not concede that it was just politics or infighting or one member, as Assemblymember McKinner said. She said that it had to do, and I've heard this also repeated, with oversight, that there wasn't, that the bills took the oversight out of the hands of the legislature, and she had some other concerns, I think monetary, that she said were the real reasons the bills didn't go forward.
I find that odd because, again, these were the same bills that they endorsed in May, and if there was oversight concerns in August, they should have been the same oversight concerns in May because the bills were not amended. So where did these oversight concerns come from in the last 4 months? I mean, again, the bills were not amended. So these are the bills in their original form that they endorsed in May that was on the floor to be taken up. So where did these oversight concerns arise from? That should have been discussed in May if those were concerns. Then.
Cherise Cryer makes an interesting point that there's no oversight if funds are moved to nonprofits. I mean, we don't know for sure, but there's no mechanism in place for that at this point. What Molly Bell wants to know, where do we go from here? Someone else said California's setting a bad example. I don't know that it's a bad example because I feel like an activated community and increased concern around reparations, which has elicited pledges that these bills will come back, is not necessarily a bad example. Do you think it's a bad example, and where should we go from here?
Not exactly. I mean, we knew this wasn't going to be a one and done. You knew we weren't going to get everything across the finish line in 1 year. I mean, the problem was the two that were so critical to moving forward didn't move. But the point is that we got time. I mean, and, you know, we knew we weren't going to get all our wins in 1 year. We would have liked to have had the agency the first year. Yes, we would have. But, you know, it's still much work to be done. And so I keep hope alive, you know, as Martin Luther King often said, and I quote him all the time, you know, we got to accept finite disappointment but have infinite hope. I have infinite hope that we're going to get this done right.
One thing that makes me scratch my head, Senator Bradford, is how certain things become priorities and some don't. How is 1331 not a priority, but the sequel to the Crown Act is a priority? I mean, for some of us, myself included, and you know I did an editorial on this months ago, I get that we might not be at cash reparations right now, but things that are arguably not reparations at all, how are they priorities? And I know it's not one and done. Every legislator has told me that. There was, 100 recommendations from the task force? 115 coming out of that task force, a 1,200-page document. So, yeah, it's not going to happen in 1 year or 5 years. It's a process. And, you know, maybe nonprofits and others can be involved, like you said, later. That seems like it would be overseen by a bureau, the Freedmen's Bureau. But when it comes to priorities, how is grocery stores a higher priority than setting up a funding mechanism? I'm not trying to throw people under the bus, but before this controversy even came forward, I just didn't understand. What is the process for deciding what's a priority and what's not? Well,
You took a vote amongst the Bloc Caucus, and whatever bill got 7 votes was considered to be a priority. So that was a Bloc Caucus vote, and any of those measures, or all those measures, I should say, 13 outside of mine were voted with 7 votes to become a caucus priority. 1331 wasn't, and 1050 wasn't voted to be a priority.
So, you know, I have picked up from some legislators that they feel like we the public don't understand the process. And one assembly member said that, you know, when the caucus decides that they're going to make a decision like we're not going to bring these bills, that they're being united and sticking together is really important for them to be able to work together in the future, for them to be able to be strong. Do you agree with that?
I mean, there's some truth to that. I mean, you need unity to move forward no matter what it is that you're doing. But, you know, a lot of the infighting that was going on was made very public. I mean, we have to learn how to keep our internal politics internal. But, you know, it's a dicey game, but unity is important. And you got to put forth a united front. So, you know.
I mean, I guess the reason I'm asking that, because a lot of us were saying, like, why didn't, you know, some people, I know they took a vote and they voted, I'm told they took a vote and they voted not to bring those 2 bills up for the full floor. But some of us would have liked to see some folks just stand on their principles and say, wait, these are not everyday bills. This is reparations. This is historic. It has to go beyond personal feelings or even reservations about changes. Bills are tweaked after they're passed all the time, aren't they?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, you can, you know, the governor has create, you know, a little freedom to do what he wants to do. You can also implement it through a signing message, or you can also add a letter to the Journal saying, here's our true intent with the bill.
Or subsequent legislation, right?
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's ways to amend and tweak and change, you know.
So is it political suicide to just stand on business in a situation like that and say, I love my fellow legislators, but I'm supporting this?
I'm not quite sure.
Well, I mean, at the point where they say, look, we're not going to bring these to the floor, for somebody to stand up and say, no, I don't agree with this decision in that moment.
I wish that would have happened. I mean, it could have happened, but it didn't. I mean, you know, I that would have been ideal. But you would have quickly seen that those bills had votes to get off the floor. There was Democrats and Republicans willing to vote. Again, example of the three that I had, 1050 was brought up. 1050 got off the floor with 72 votes. That lets you know the Republicans voted for that. And that was the bill dealing, again, with the racially motivated taking of property through eminent domain. Mm-hmm. And that was a little dicey at the beginning when we introduced that bill. But to get to that point where it got off the assembly floor with 72 votes, just shows you it was strong support.
You mentioned that Bill Assaili, repeatedly and loudly opposed your reparations bills prior to the last minute.
In committee, yeah.
Yeah, in committee. But you also said some of the bills did get Republican support. Are you seeing movement? Are some of the Republicans starting to understand and progress in their support of reparations in general? Yeah,
I've seen it. I've had conversations. My last night on the floor with my Senate colleagues, many of the Republicans came over and thanked me for my leadership in the legislature and helping educate them. And one was very complimentary on just saying, I've learned so much about Black history through our Juneteenth presentations, through my Black History Month presentations, things that they did not know, things that they weren't aware of. And so they are moving, and we did see a shift. And so that was encouraging because, again, I've always been an honest broker. I've always, dealt with folks straight up, and so they appreciated that. So we did see movement with a few of these reparations bills. Do I think all of them were going to get votes by Republicans? No, but a few did.
Interesting. We're talking with Senator Steve Bradford. I think it's interesting because it's the power of why we need to keep talking about reparations, not just with Republicans, with each other, because we don't have the full knowledge and understanding that we need yet. But I think that's all of our job to do that. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Have you heard of the 50-30-20 rule? This can help you spend and save your money wisely. So, how does it work? Distribute your dollars into 3 buckets. 50% towards needs, 30% towards your wants, and 20% goes to savings. Use this tool to help your journey to financial success. Sponsored by J.P. Morgan Chase & Company. With reported hate crimes rising in recent years, California has responded through outreach efforts across state government and in collaboration with community-based organizations for the launch of CA versus Hate. This non-emergency multilingual hate crime and incident reporting hotline provides an anonymous reporting option for victims and witnesses of hate acts reported in 15 different languages through the online portal and in over 200 languages when calling the hotline. Report anonymously by calling 833-866-4283 Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. or online at any time at cavshate.org. Mark your calendar for October 2nd. It's California Clean Air Day. When you go Metro, you'll enjoy free rides and help clear the air. We can reduce pollution and create a healthier environment together. Let's all ride for a cleaner tomorrow. Start your journey at metro.net.
Looks like Bobby needs a ride again.
Grab the keys. Let's take our auntie to the swap meet. Grab the keys.
Whether you're giving rides or hauling gear, do it all in a Chevy SUV. Head to your local Chevy dealer, where well-qualified buyers get 1.9% APR on all 2024 Silverado 1500, Blazer EV, Equinox, Trailblazer, and Colorado models. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
1.9% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $28.60 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 12.7%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 9/30/24.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Stay Housed LA has the resources you need to know your rights and the legal support to back them up. The COVID-19 pandemic has cost people their jobs and livelihoods. This has left an estimated 1/3 of households not being able to make rent and facing losing their homes. This is a fear no one in our community should have to face. You have rights, though, and Stay Housed LA is here to help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between the County of Los Angeles, the City of Los Angeles, and local community and legal service providers. Together, they provide tenants with the information and support needed to exercise their rights so they can remain safely in their homes. Find out more about your rights by participating in a virtual tenant workshop. Get the legal assistance you need. Find additional resources in Los Angeles County and the City of Los Angeles. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA County for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. That's stayhousedla.org. Or call their hotline at 213-694-0040. We've got your black with a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Paul's new drone startup just lost its most genius computer scientist.
We just lost our best genius to some new genius who's got a genius new idea. I'm going to have to find a new genius, or two half geniuses, and fast.
He needs a computer scientist that can keep his startup from falling down.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
We're talking with Senator Steve Bradford, and we've been talking about these 2 reparations bills that were killed at the last minute, literally the 11th hour. Caravan of reparationists shows up at the Capitol, and one of the complaints that I heard was people were being mocked. They're having lawmakers refusing to talk with them. Now I'm hearing reports that folks are trying to go to these town hall meetings that are being had across the state, and the registrations are closed, and folks are being shut out. What advice would you give community and activists in terms of getting this, not just these 2 bills, but more done around reparations? Because as you pointed out, 120, recommendations. This is just the beginning.
Just staying active, staying vocal, staying peaceful, being passionate. I mean, some folks were saying that it was bordering on threats, and I just say folks were upset, but I understand being upset, but it should never lead to any personal attacks or, any threats of harm whatsoever. I mean,
did you receive any? Were you aware of any?
I haven't received anything directly, but as I was trying to tell some of my colleagues who were saying that their numbers were given out, I had nothing to do with that. I don't use social media. I don't do anything like that.
Like their personal phone numbers?
Yeah, their self, because people start calling them and, and texting them and saying, hey, pass reparations and stuff like that. I'm just saying that was what folks did. I mean, these were many of the same folks who came to the task force meetings over the 2 years. And
right. But we also don't know who gave out those cell numbers.
Have no idea.
People could have been doxxed by people online that live in Arkansas. That's why I didn't really appreciate, the governor pointing fingers in that way.
I agree. I mean, because we don't know who was behind that. And, people are hacked all the time. I mean, so with this technology world that we live in, I mean, a lot of stuff is accessed by so many means. And then you have AI and all that other stuff. So,
Folks in the chat are asking what you know about a 10-year plan for reparations in the state of California by the CLBC. They're saying that's too long. I personally think we'll be working on it longer than 10 years, but I understand that sounds like kicking the can down the road, making excuses, and we do need to see some immediate progress.
I think in order for this to be real, you do need some immediate wins. I mean, substantive wins, and to say that it's going to take 10 years to stand up reparations, I too would have a little bit of concern that it takes that long.
But do you know anything about such a plan, 10-year plan?
I haven't been briefed on a 10-year plan. We agreed as a caucus. We knew, again, this would not be a one and done, but to say that it's going to take 10 years to stand up meaningful reparations, that's a little long. I mean, to implement all 115 recommendations might take that, but who's to say all 115 will ever be implemented at all?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right. So it sounds like you say the way forward is just continuing engagement. There's also some arguing going on in the chat, which I think should be addressed. I feel like Republicans like Asali and others, even people in the reparations movement who are Republicans, have seen this as an opening. And I just want to get your thoughts. What I've seen and heard and studied and read, I have not seen meaningful work by Republicans in moving reparations forward, not just in California, but anywhere in the nation.
I totally agree with that. I mean, this can be used as a way to divide and conquer and create, confusion and say, what I told you, they don't need this because they're not organized. I mean, it can be used against us, but I say we got to stay focused. We got to stay committed to what the goal is and move forward. I mean, we've been fighting for reparations now for 163 years. So, we should expect there's going to be a lot of opposition. There's going to be a whole lot of misinformation, but we got to be true to what it is that we're trying to do. That's why I encourage everyone to read that final report. If you don't read all 1,100 pages, read the executive summary. And it's going to educate you, whether you're a descendant of a slave or not. For all my colleagues who say, I never owned slaves, why should I have this responsibility? You do have a responsibility because, again, we built this country, and people need to understand that. This country was built on free labor for over 200 years, and we wouldn't be the nation that we are today. We wouldn't be leading in agriculture. We wouldn't be leading in textile. We wouldn't be leading. The whole gold rush was mined by slaves here in California, and people need to understand that.
Yeah. Absolutely, they do. I didn't even realize that one of our governors tried to ban black people from California.
Peter Burgess, the first
news to me. Yeah,
the first governor of California wanted to ban black people from California, despite the fact that he was a slave owner.
It's insane. I know you're running for lieutenant governor. Folks are asking for that website again.
Steve Bradford for California.
FOR, Steve Bradford. Yeah. FOR. California. We don't really have time, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Last night, the black journalist, the NABJ, asked candidate Vice President Kamala Harris, would she bring an executive order on reparations? She said it was up to Congress. Some folks are saying that they won't support her because of that. She supported the Senate version of H.R. 40. She also said in 2020 she would sign it if it came to her desk. I know you've been active for Harris. Thoughts?
That shouldn't be a deciding factor on whether they should support her or not. This woman is probably one of the most qualified individuals to ever run for this office, and that alone, her track record of what she's done up until this point, warrants their support, not just one issue. Are we all passionate about reparations? And I say we all in the black community, yes, but we're divided too there, so I wouldn't use that as the barometer on whether or not we should support her or not, whether she's, campaign on reparations or whether she would sign it on day one or create an executive order. I think that's totally unfair to hold that over her head as a litmus test on whether we should support her or not.
Senator Bradford, thank you for spending the hour with me this morning. A lot of great conversation, and I appreciate all the work that you have done and I assume will continue to do to push reparations forward.
And I appreciate this opportunity and your voice for the people, always speaking out, speaking loud, speaking clear. So thank you.
The Tavis Smiley Show is up next. He is on vacation, but he's got lots of great guests in store for you. And we will be back in action tomorrow. Dr. Gerald Horn will join me. I'm Dominique DiPrima. History is now, and we are making it together. Until next time, one love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from us. Her visit came on National Voter Registration Day and a week after her debate with former President